Okay, welcome back, guys. This is Mr. Lundy, and today I want to talk to you about sedimentary rocks, a little bit about how they form, and maybe some introductory things about the different types. There will probably be at least maybe 2 videos. This is sort of the introductory one. And then there will be another one going more in depth in terms of looking at different kinds of sedimentary rocks. But it was a nice day, so I wanted to get out of my house, and I drove up to the top of the hill. I live on one of the Glenville hills, and I drove to the very top. So you see daylight up there. That is the top of this hill. We are about 1,100 feet above sea level. And the whole way up this hill, I'm looking at the road and I'm wondering, what is beneath the road as I'm going to the top of this hill? And I finally get to the top and I look out and I see this. I see layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of rocks. And they're laid down horizontally. And I said, wow, this is what my hill that I live on is made out of. A lot of times we don't think about what's underneath us. And it turns out that all of Schenectady, all of Niskayuna, this whole area, the whole capital district, is underlaid by about 3,000 or 4,000 feet of rocks that look like these. These are sedimentary rocks. And they were deposited, meaning they were put down in an ancient inland sea that existed hundreds of millions of years ago. So these rocks here are approximately 450 million years old. That's 5 times older than the dinosaurs, and we live on this. Now, when you get up close to these rocks and you look at them, you see thin layers of this sort of tannish, buff-colored rock. And if you look closely, you see very tiny, minute particles in here. These are very, very fine grains of sand. So this is a type of fine-grained sandstone, right? Now you can tell, if you look over there, you can see that it's not all the same. There are some layers a little thicker than others. Some are more tan, some are more gray. The gray layers, in between the tan layers, that is shale. And that used to be mud on the bottom of this ancient ocean. And occasionally, for one reason or another, energy levels in the area would pick up and sand would wash in and get deposited on top of the mud. And then things would calm down and more silt or clay would be deposited. And then energy levels would pick up and then some sand would come in and get deposited. And so you get this layer cake of beautiful sedimentary rocks. Now, something happened. There's no longer an ocean here. That something has to do with plate tectonics, but basically the water went away because this whole area was uplifted. It was uplifted and it exposed all these layers to weathering and erosion. Now even today, if you go up to the top, we learned that there was an ice age here about 18,000 years ago. This was under ice, and if you look up there, you can find evidence of that in the form of glacial striations. Remember those? So anyway, sedimentary rocks are the world's best history book. Think of each one of these layers like a page in a book. Now, if you happen to find traces of life in one of these layers, a fossil, it tells you about not only what was living, but about the environmental conditions that must have existed for that life form to be able to survive. So sedimentary rocks are very, very valuable in terms of what they can teach us about Earth's past. So that's why I like them. They're not the prettiest looking rocks. Matter of fact, they're pretty boring looking, but they can tell you about the past. Now, sedimentary rocks always get deposited horizontally. This type of sedimentary rock, I should say, always gets deposited horizontally. So sometimes if you see them tilted, you know that something disturbed them, something happened, like an earthquake or something like that. So they can tell us things like that. If you notice over there, you can see some fractures, some cuts that go down through these rocks. They can tell us about what caused them as well. So anyway, this is sort of how we'll start out with looking at sedimentary rocks out here in my backyard, so to speak. So anyway, I will do another video soon showing you many of the different types in hand sample, what they look like. But I wanted to get out today and just get some fresh air and intro the topic to you like this. So I hope that was helpful. Hope it's motivating a little bit. Get out when you see rocks like this. Don't think of them just as boring rocks. Think of them as ancient history lessons. Okay, see ya.